Okay, it's going to be so heavily
Tank
armored
that
that there's
cannot
no
die.
anti-tank weapon or
What?
artillery piece known to man
How's
that
this
can kill.
possible?
Then we're going to put a gun on it that's so
Woo!
big that it can shoot through.
Hey guys,
Guys,
loud
guys.
guys, today we are going to react to the Doom Turtle, America's only super heavy tank. So this title is a bit confusing because we know that America has a lot of tanks, and that too that Abrams one, they have very big ones and they are the most carrier ones. They even send them to Ukraine. So what is this about it? Only super heavy tank, and this is the Doom Turtle, and we have never heard about it. We have seen a lot of tank related videos. So but we all know that Fat Electrician always has a new and interesting story. So I think this is the same time for it. So let's watch this
Video.
Sometimes I like to read several books, get in contact with historians that are experts on the subject, and make a pretty serious video. And other times, I like to get completely unhinged and rant about some stuff that I think is funny. And by sometimes, I mean today, right now. Today we're talking about my favorite tank. Ladies and gentlemen, America's only super heavy tank, the T-28, aka the Doom Turtle.
the
Doom Turtle.
Oh.
Oh wow. It's so fat.
Now, I said this is my favorite tank, which is a completely unquantifiable metric. Despite that, somebody in the comments is still going to tell me that I'm wrong. So if you think I should have a different favorite tank, go ahead and tell me about it in the comments below, and maybe I'll do a video about that one too. Okay, and just to be clear, when it comes to me and things like tanks and planes and guns, favorite is not the best, it's not the most impactful,
It's
not
just
the
my
most historically
favorite.
relevant, it's just the coolest / dumbest one around, and in my opinion, this is it. Alright, the Doom Turtle. It is a World War II era tank that was designed for one reason and one reason only, and that is to punch through the German Siegfried Line. If you don't know, the Siegfried Line is Germany's western border, where they have essentially tried to fortify it to make it impenetrable to the Allied forces approaching so that they can't break into Germany. It is approximately 400 miles of
Wow.
concrete pyramids known as Dragon's Teeth,
I
making
didn't
it
know
so
about
tanks
this.
and other
Dragon's
Allied
Teeth.
vehicles can't pass through. Then on the other side of the Dragon's Teeth, you typically had other things that were meant to stop foot soldiers like moats, barbed wire, booby traps, and on the other side of those was
Booby
over
traps?
18,000 bunkers with machine gun, mortar, and artillery positions that were going to, in theory, be able to mow down any ally trying to advance through those obstacles. Now, the American military and government knew about the Siegfried Line pretty much the entire time because German propaganda told them about it, and they portrayed it as completely impenetrable.
Jim Carrey.
So the American military in 1943 is like, okay, we're going to come up on the Siegfried Line eventually. Let's go ahead and get a plan in the works on how we're going to address it once we get there. Now,
How?
clearly, that plan should not rely on tanks, right? I mean, that's kind of the Siegfried Line's
Of course,
entire
tank
MO.
cannot
It was
go through
designed,
this.
built, and implemented with the sole purpose of stopping tanks. We should probably do anything other than use tanks, right? Wrong, completely wrong. American engineers got told the
Completely
Germans
wrong.
built an impenetrable tank fortification, and they're like, fucking bet, we'll see about that. We're going to
Yeah.
build a bigger, better tank that's going to drive right fucking through it.
Wow. America.
So the engineers got to work. This is called the AT project, and what they came up with was surely there's spots along the Siegfried Line where the German military has a gap where they can drive their vehicles through,
Oh.
right? Has to be there. They can't just have 400 miles and they drive all the way around. There's got to be points where you can pass
Of
through
course.
it. And obviously
Divider.
those points of passage are going to be the most fortified positions, right? They're essentially going to make a fatal funnel, a choke point where all of the Allied forces have to try to go through a narrow passageway, and on the other side it's going to be loaded with German 88
Yeah.
anti-tank guns,
Very
German
risky.
artillery, machine guns, mortars, everything. They're going to be able to slaughter anybody that tries to make it through that little tiny narrow passage. To which the American engineers are like, cool, obvious solution. We're just going to make a tank that can't die. Okay, it's going to be so heavily
Tank
armored
that
that there's
cannot
no
die.
anti-tank weapon or
What?
artillery piece known to man
How's
that
this
can kill.
possible?
Then we're going to put a gun on it that's so
Woo!
big that it can shoot through concrete
I was
bunkers
noticing
and take
this
out
is
the enemy.
too
We're literally
huge,
going to
like,
drive this
tall.
gigantic, heavily armored tank directly into the enemy choke point, stand there, take all their anti-tank fire, be untouchable, and then we're going to return fire and kill them first. Okay, you understand how
Wow.
gangster that is? This is the ultimate
This is
dad dick
ultimate
maneuver.
gangster.
Just straight
Yeah.
up like, I know exactly what your plan is. I know what you want me to do so that you can beat me. I'm going
And
to
then I
do
hit
it
you back.
anyways, and I'm still going to win because
Yes.
fuck you. So they made the Doom Turtle, the T-28, America's only super heavy tank.
looking
This
very
thing is
scary,
36
nah?
feet long, 10 feet tall, and 14 feet wide. It has 12 inches of armor on the front, and it's weighing in at 95 tons. Okay?
Wow.
Approximately 210,000 pounds. Okay, the human mind
Like
can't
100,000
comprehend
kgs.
how heavy this tank actually is. It literally
Very
weighs as
heavy.
much as a blue whale, which also
Woo!
isn't helpful because most
Super
people
heavy tank.
haven't seen a blue whale. Okay, so it's like, where's my calculator?
It's like
Toyota Corolla's like 3,000 pounds. It's like 70 Toyota Corollas, okay? This entire thing is like an entire parking lot, got a gun strapped to it, and now it's coming to kill the enemy. Speaking of gun, they went with a 105 millimeter gun, okay? That is field grade artillery. This is literally a howitzer that they strapped to the front of this metallic blue whale.
All
If you're
out.
not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you this thing is basically the Norwal of death, all right? Which raises the question, why on earth did they go with the Doom Turtle and not the Norwal of death? Well, it's because this thing's slow as shit, which is really the downfall of this tank, because somebody basically said, hey, we're going to build a 200,000 pound tank, and then we're going to put the same V8 engine in it that the M4 Shermans have. Yeah, the Doom Turtle
Not
is rocking
possible.
a 500 horsepower V8 Ford engine, okay?
Wow.
Just for the record, if you don't know much about engines or horsepower, Dodge is out here making minivans with 1,000 horsepower that weigh 5,000 pounds, and the DoD thought it would be a good idea to stick a 500 horsepower V8 inside of a tank that weighs as much as a blue whale. Okay, the Doom Turtle's coming at you at the speed of mock potato. Pedal to the metal,
Mock
balls
potato.
to the wall. This thing maxes out at 8 miles an hour. So clearly,
That's
they're going to
it?
have to transport this thing all the way to the Siegfried line, right? If they land this thing on a beach in Normandy and let it drive
will
all the way
never
across
reach that
France, it's going to take like 3 years to get there. And this is actually why the Doom Turtle has a unique look of having 4 sets of tracks instead of just 2 very wide sets of tracks like a normal super heavy tank would. And that's because those 2 outermost tracks come off and separate from the Doom Turtle, allowing it to be easier to transport both because now the Doom
nice.
Turtle isn't as wide and it comes apart in 3 separate chunks, making it all weigh significantly less than the original 95 tons. So they've got it all figured out, and by 1945 they start manufacturing these things. Originally they're planning on making 25 of them. They figure that'll be enough to punch through the Siegfried line, but they build 2 prototypes first. So they get those prototypes built, then they're testing the first one, and the V8 engine that's trying to move 200,000 pounds obviously catches fire, burns out the entire inside of the tank. The entire thing is essentially a total loss. And while that was going on, the Allied forces managed to penetrate the Siegfried line. How on earth did they do that without the Doom Turtle, you ask? Well, A, the Siegfried line wasn't really all it was cracked up to be, according to the German propaganda. It definitely was
It was
not
not that
impenetrable.
good.
It was undermanned. It just wasn't as good as it was made out to be. So they just went and they sent out recon and they found a couple of spots where they weren't well covered by like artillery and machine guns and booby traps, and then they just put a bulldozer out and pushed dirt over the top of the
What?
dragon's teeth.
So
and then drove
simple.
right over the top, got behind enemy lines and took everybody out. Yeah, the
So
Germans spent
simple.
God knows how much money and man hours building this 400-mile stretch of
Yeah.
concrete booby traps, and they got outdone
By a
a couple of
bulldozer.
rednecks with a
Yeah.
bulldozer. So because of that, the Doom Turtle simply just wasn't needed anymore, so they stopped the project. There was one surviving prototype. They gave that over to Aberdeen Proving Ground, and they used that basically as a giant weight to test transportation equipment because, well, it was the heaviest tank they had, and if it could move the Doom Turtle, it could move anything else. So they used it for that for a little while. Then, one day, somebody just parked it in a field, and everybody forgot about it. A little
Huh?
while after that, people started asking questions. Historians,
Forgot
the public
about it?
museums, like, hey, where's that badass tank? We want to preserve it. We want to save it. It's a part of history. We want to stick it in our museum. Let me have it so I can take care of it. And the army is like, I don't know, bro. We lost it. Okay, now
Huh?
on one hand, to be
What?
fair, I'm pretty sure I know exactly how this happened. They just like had a couple of dudes go park it. They made it take all day. They parked it off in a field. Those dudes like retired. They left. They moved on, and then nobody remembered where it got parked. Okay, like I'm sympathetic
Like,
to that.
how?
I understand how it happened, but on
How's
the
it
other
possible?
hand,
Does not make
how the
sense.
fuck do you lose a 200,000 pound tank that
Yeah.
there's only one of? Like, I would understand if you were like, oh, hey, we misplaced a Sherman tank because America made like 50,000 of them, right? But no, this isn't a Sherman tank. It's twice the size of a Sherman tank, and there's only one of them.
Huge.
Okay, you could park it in a parking lot full of tanks, and you would still be able to find it.
Yeah.
How on earth did you manage to lose a blue whale with a gun attached to it? Okay?
Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude? Dude, where's my car?
So that's it. It's just gone. It's MIA for the next 27 years. Nobody has any
27
clue
years?
where this thing is at. And then one day, some hunter is out in the woods near a military base hunting, and he's like, hey, there's a fucking tank sticking out of those bushes.
God. How's the story?
Dude, there's your car.
This
Yeah,
is
you guys
the
thought I was
most
being
American
silly
thing
earlier with that
ever.
War Thunder
Yeah.
ad, didn't you? When I stuck a couple of bushes on this giant tank and pretended like that was going to conceal it. Well, history is on my side now because this bitch was incognito for 27 years because it had a couple of bushes on it. What now? So the hunter goes to the army. He's like, hey, I found this weird looking tank in the bushes. And they're like, oh shit, we've been looking for that thing. So the army then takes the tank. They give it to a museum in Fort Knox. So it's on display there for a little while. And then they decide that they're going to move it from Fort Knox to Fort Benning or Fort Moore Freedom, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be called now, the home of the infantry. They decide they're going to move it to the infantry museum at the home of the infantry. So they
Meh.
throw it on the HET trailer, the heavy equipment trailer, and they tow it all the way way to Georgia. While they're towing it there, apparently they take a turn too hard and it breaks the chains off the Het trailer and the entire main cab of the tank flies into the ditch. Now granted, it was just the main cab of the Doom Turtle, so it didn't have the two outermost tracks, which is like a significant amount of weight, but still the main cab is 60 tons flying off your trailer into the
What
ditch.
is
So that's
happening?
terrifying. Obviously the Doom Turtle, completely fine. The paint got scuffed, no big deal. Get it back on the trailer, they get it where it's going. Now, here's my issue. I know for a fact that there are pictures of the Doom Turtle in a ditch somewhere in Georgia. I need those pictures. Someone has them on their cell phone. This happened in like 2017, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. I know one of the drivers in that convoy took a picture of it with their smartphone. It has to have happened. I want that picture for history so I can get it to the museum, okay? Get me that picture.
What are you waiting for? Chinese New Year? Go, go, go.
Sorry, so that's it. That's
Chinese
the
New
end of
Year.
the story. They get it to the National Infantry Museum, and that is where it is on display today. So in
Finally.
conclusion, that's my favorite tank for literally no reason other than it's completely ridiculous and I think it's funny. Literally from its inception, it was just designed to be a giant middle finger. The enemy told America, hey, you can't drive your tanks through here.
And America said, "We
"Take
will."
my defense budget and watch this shit. And this is the monstrosity that they came up with, okay? I don't know if you can give a tank steroids or even test a tank for steroids, but if you can, test
This
that one first.
is the
Now,
result.
is it unfortunate that it never saw combat? Yeah, absolutely. It's cool to think about if it did. However, that serves to highlight one of the most important lessons that I teach on this channel, and that is that the only thing scarier than engineers and defense contractors with an unlimited budget is a bunch of infantrymen on the ground with time on their hands.
What an interesting video this was. The moment it started, I thought it would be the best ever
Yeah.
tank ever, and this would be such an amazing story. It would have done something very big in Vietnam War or something very big in some other war, but then comes the story of it doing nothing. Like, it was not even used. There were
Because
two prototypes
Useless, yeah. Why? I don't know why they've made this.
actually, and there were two prototypes made, and one of them got destroyed in the factory itself, and the other one is sitting in the museum. So that is why it is the most favorite of the fat electrician.
Well, I would say that is kind of their obsession, or that, you know, something to desire to create such kind of tank. And but they forgot. That was very weird. Like I at first I thought he's making fun of something or he's joking, but he said actually they forgot it.
Actually, like, for all the time you hear this story, it is like, is this a real story?
Real,
But then you
yeah.
remember, America is a rich kid with a lot of money, and to do that, they can do anything with it.
Anything.
So they are doing anything with it. So what do you guys think about it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So do like, share, and
Subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.